But for the exercise, let's have a look how we're going to set this up. What we need is obviously some data to work from, but we need to create a new project. So we'll do that and we'll start looking at the data. Obviously, the first step is to make sure that we are in the right place. We need to be in our folder. As you can see, I've done all the exercises, but let's just run through creating a new exercise. So we go to ArcGIS Pro, and we're going to create a new one. So we click there, and we need to point it in the right place because it always wants to go somewhere else. Because our IT department doesn't trust us on Fig. So, right, we want to be in there, and that's where we're going to create it, and then we'll just go exercise 5. We do that, we click on OK, and it will create the project for us. That'll take a couple of seconds, and again, we really can ditch these things so they're not in the way. And then if we go to the instructions, you can see here that what we actually want to read into our project to begin with is a part of this, the property map, the fastighetskartan, and we have this lyrx file that we can use, ready-made by the GET service run by SLU, which contains lots of data. It's a service that collects data from several different government sources, from the Swedish Land Survey, from the Geological Survey, from SLU itself, and so on, and other places, and we can download data from there. I have created this raw data folder for you with data from there because the data management is not that straightforward anymore. For a beginner, it used to be somewhat easier, not anymore. So I've done a lot of groundwork for you so that you don't have to. It's not that difficult to access the data, but in the beginning now, on this sort of level of course, maybe we decided to wait with introducing that and just provide you the data instead. So here we have this connection to our folder. This is the project folder already connected, but we need to add our raw data as well. So that's going to be, go to here, users, username, go to documents, and it's in this folder there. So now we have access to our raw data as well, and it's under this get. You can see I've got lots of other data in here because I've been experimenting with things and doing things for the course. And in this folder, we can see we have a whole bunch of shape files. We can just quickly look at what it looks like when we go into the folder directly in Explorer. So this is the same location. This is our same, you can see raw data get fastighetskartan, get fastighetskartan. We have this documentation folder at the top. And then in Explorer, we have a whole long list of files, and we have several files, each with the same name. Whereas in Catalog, there's just one file for each name. So Catalog is assuming that the only thing you're interested in is the shapefile, which essentially you are. This is the shapefile format, which is an S3 standard, which is used by many pieces of software now. They released a white paper many years ago explaining how this is built up, so it's now freely available for others to implement. Whereas other formats that you use in S3 software are not open, and in fact it's quite a closed system. But this shape format is one that is quite open. So we have this shape here with its equivalent, just the shapefile being shown in our catalog over there. But each of these shape files is actually associated with several other files. Every file here that has the same name, the same root as it were, they all belong together. They're all part of the same format. But what we open up in Catalog would be the shape file, except we're not going to even do that. We could just bring these, I mean, I can show you right now. If I just grab a layer, let's grab, say, that one, I can pull it in. You don't need to do this. I'm just doing it to show you. And we get this, lots of information, lots of spatial data, but it's not of any great use to us or it is. It's just not. It doesn't contain any styling information. We don't know what's in there. It's just. I mean, the data's in there in the attribute table. If we look here, so there's a whole lot of information we could use to style the data to change its how it's appearing on the screen. But instead, we'll just remove that for now, and we'll go back to catalog, and we'll go to Fastighetskartan documentation. And then if we look in this folder called ArcGIS, click there, and there are several of these lyrx files. There are two lyrx files and two lyr files. So the lyr is the older format used for ArcMap. lyrx is the newer one used for ArcGIS Pro, which is the program we're using here. And we have Swedish and English. What these do, these are instructions to the program that say, go and get some files, go and get some of these shape files in this case from here, put them into the project and use a particular styling so that they look nice or according to the desires of the provider. So we could pull in this lyrx file, or in this case the property map file. Both of them reference the same data files. It's just that we can use different names for the data stored within them. The data is still stored using the same information, it's just that we label it differently when we write it in English rather than Swedish. So the lyrx file does not contain any real data in itself, it just contains instructions and descriptions of what should happen. We'll pull in this Fastighetskartan here to see it. Let's just have a quick look at that. We pull that in, and there we go. So it's taken in the same data, many of these polygons that we saw before, but now they've been given different colors, different line styles, and we have something that's more akin to our map. If we were to purchase a map or download a raster version of this map, it would look something more like this. There are some inconsistencies. We can see some small problems here and there, but this is by and large acceptable. And this is GIS, not cartography, so we don't have to worry too much about those differences. So that's just pulling in this Fastighetskartan, the lyrx file. So here we have a whole bunch of links, files linked to in this map. Some of them are marked up here. Some of them don't have a tick. They haven't bothered to show them on the screen. That's just a decision that's been made by the providers as to what should be shown on screen. Some of them are grey. This greyed out tone here it tells us that these layers are there. They will be visible if we zoom in close enough. But there's if we perhaps look here, we can go to the properties. And I think it's under display symbols, scale symbols when a reference scale is set, is telling us that there's a range. Is that where they've changed the name to now? Display, I think it comes under display. Here, no, it comes under general now. So do not show layer when zoomed in beyond a particular layer, zoomed out beyond, they've chosen 050 for some reason. So we're zoomed out farther. If we look at the scale down here, we can see that our scale was zoomed out a little bit farther away, and so this layer, this järnvägssymbol, the railway symbols, is not visible. If we were to zoom in a little bit closer, let's find some railway. There we have railway, and once we get in some symbols, we can see that now becomes darkened. If we can actually see some symbols is another matter, but the layer is active. So that's what that means. And if we had red markings here, that would tell us that it can't find the data files. But we don't have any of those, they're all there. So that's the basic layout of our map and how these lyrx files work. So we've read in the data, and we've had a look at this, the content of it. The one more thing that I want to explain that's maybe not entirely clear and perhaps not entirely evident from what we've looked at so far, and that's this thing with absolute and relative paths. As it is, ArcGIS Pro by default uses something called relative paths. Previously in ArcMap, it would use absolute paths by default, and you would have to specify using relative paths. What is the difference between an absolute and a relative path? These concepts exist outside of GIS, outside of ARC, outside of GIS generally. They are important concepts to bear in mind. So I can open up this illustration here. If we look at this, so what an absolute path is, it says start at the beginning, start at the root. In this case, it's C:, so the hard disk on the computer. And if we want to find a particular file, let's say we have a file down here, we have this lyrx file down here. So an absolute path would say go to C, then go to users, then go to my name, whatever it is, then go to documents. Then inside documents you should find a folder called SBG051, and inside that folder you should find a folder called raw data, and inside that folder you should find a folder called get, and inside that folder you should find. So as you can see, we have lots of steps all the way down, and if any one of these is incorrect, let's say we're not working on C, we're working on H:, it's broken, it doesn't work. Or if we're swapping data, we've decided we were working on somebody's computer, we're working on somebody's login, and then somebody else wants to work with it. So we transfer the project over to somebody else. And even if all of this is the same, if that name has changed, it's broken, it won't work. Let's say we suddenly remember that, oh, we didn't follow the instructions properly, and we put in a space somewhere here. And then we decide to change it from SBG051 space GIP1 to just SBG051, it's broken. So it's very easy to break these absolute paths, as well as being long and tedious. So another way of doing it, the relative path, is to say, well, start from here, relative to where I am, which is this lyrx file. I'm here, wherever I am, go up one step, go up another step, and then in there look for stuff. So if we're looking for the shape files, rather than having to go all the way down here, and then in here there's all these shape files somewhere at this level, rather than saying that, you just say up one step, up another one, and there you should find the shape files. We don't even need to know what these are called. We don't have to have these names. We just say go up one level, up another level, which is what these two dots mean. Go up one level, go up another level, and look there for our shape files, whatever they are. So that's the difference between relative and absolute. And obviously we can then package this, we can pick up this whole project folder and move it wherever we want, as long as we don't change the names of the files we're interested in, or change internally. Say we could actually go up and then down into another folder if we wanted to. And if we don't change that name that we're going down into, that's fine. So that's the relative path, up and then wherever the data is. Whereas the absolute path says from the beginning, start here, whatever this root is, the C:, D:, H:, wherever you're starting from, some root address, into users, into this bit, into that bit. Obviously it's a long chain that can be broken. So that's the difference between those. So now I think we'll just stop there in this film, and we'll move on to continue with the instructions in the next film.